In October 1989, a 10-year-old girl received a phone call at school. The caller knew her name. He knew which school she attended, and he told her he wanted help choosing a surprise gift for her mother. It sounded harmless, thoughtful even. Amy Mihaljevic trusted the voice on the other end of the line. She never came home from that meeting. More than 30 years later, investigators are still asking the same question. How did someone know exactly how to reach her? And why has no one been held responsible? This is Evidence in Silence. In this episode, we examine the disappearance and murder of Amy Mihaljevic, a case that continues to haunt the community of Bay Village, Ohio. Amy vanished in 1989 after being lured away by a phone call that appeared carefully planned. Despite an extensive investigation, national attention, and decades of follow-up, her case remains unresolved. In this episode, we'll walk through what is known, what remains uncertain, and why this case has proven so difficult to solve. Amy Renee Mihaljevic was 10 years old when she disappeared. She lived with her mother Marilyn in Bay Village, a quiet suburb west of Cleveland. Those who knew Amy described her as polite, responsible, and thoughtful for her age. She enjoyed school, ballet lessons, and spending time with friends. There was nothing about her routine that suggested danger, and nothing that indicated someone was watching her, until it was already too late. In the weeks before Amy Mihaljevic disappeared, several phone calls were made to her elementary school. The caller asked specifically for Amy by name. He told school staff he was a friend of her mother and that he needed Amy's help choosing a surprise gift. At the time, this did not immediately raise concern. In the late 1980s, it was not unusual for students to be called out of class to take phone calls. Security procedures were far less strict than they are today. Teachers later recalled that Amy appeared calm during these calls. She did not seem frightened. She did not seem confused. In fact, she seemed reassured. The caller spoke politely. He was patient, and he sounded familiar enough to earn trust. What makes these calls especially troubling is the level of detail the caller appeared to know. He knew Amy's full name. He knew where she went to school, and he knew enough about her family to convincingly claim a connection to her mother. Investigators later concluded that the calls were likely made by the same individual and that they were part of a deliberate plan. The caller did not rush. He did not demand anything immediately. Instead, he built familiarity over time, allowing Amy to feel comfortable with the idea of meeting him. This slow approach suggests forethought, and it raises a disturbing question. How long had someone been watching Amy before the calls ever began? On Friday, October 27, 1989, Amy Mihaljevic attended school as usual. There was nothing about the day that initially appeared unusual. After school, Amy told her mother that she planned to walk to a nearby shopping plaza. She said she would be home shortly. This was a familiar routine. The plaza was close to their home, and Amy had walked there before. According to witnesses, Amy was later seen speaking with an adult man near the shopping area. The man was described as white, with brown hair, and wearing casual clothing. No one reported seeing Amy appear distressed. There was no obvious struggle. This encounter would become the last confirmed sighting of Amy alive. When Amy did not return home as expected, her mother grew concerned. As the evening passed, concern turned into alarm. Family members began searching the area. By nightfall, police were contacted. What began as a missing child report quickly escalated into a full investigation. Officers canvassed the neighborhood, flyers were distributed, and the search continued through the night. But Amy was nowhere to be found. For months, the search for Amy continued. The case received national attention. Thousands of tips were reported to law enforcement. Volunteers searched wooded areas, fields, and abandoned buildings. Despite these efforts, there were no confirmed sightings and no clear leads. Then on February 8, 1990, 4 months after Amy vanished, her body was discovered. She was found in a rural area of Ashland County, Ohio, approximately 50 miles from her home. The location was secluded. Evidence suggested that Amy had been killed shortly after her disappearance. Investigators believed she had been held for a period of time before her death. The discovery intensified the investigation. Law enforcement agencies across multiple jurisdictions became involved. A composite sketch of a suspect was released. The public was urged to come forward with any information, no matter how small it seemed. Despite the volume of tips, none led to an arrest. Physical evidence was limited, and what evidence did exist was difficult to conclusively link to a suspect. As time passed, the case grew colder, but it was never closed. Over the years, investigators have examined numerous theories regarding who may have been responsible for Amy Mihaljevic's abduction and murder. Individuals were questioned, persons of interest were identified. But in every instance, evidence fell short of what would be required to bring charges in court. Law enforcement has consistently stated that they believe the perpetrator was familiar with the area. The use of phone calls suggests someone who understood how to gain trust without raising suspicion. Advances in forensic science, particularly DNA analysis, have renewed hope in recent years. Evidence collected decades ago can now be tested in ways that were not previously possible. Investigators continue to review the case and periodically release new information in the hope that someone will come forward. To this day, no one has been arrested, and no definitive answers have been given. The case remains open. Advances in DNA technology have renewed hope in recent years. Law enforcement continues to encourage anyone with information to come forward. For now, Amy Mihaljevic's case remains unresolved, and the silence surrounding her disappearance continues.